Canada, Chile, China, Colombia, Costa Rica. That's all in N1. So from N1, Cameron is another one. I think that's what it says. I think I see what's going on here. There's two gardens. One of them's down there by the art museum, and then this one here is on the other side of the X. And this right here is the area that's the entryway to the birthing canal. And on the other side, in front of that is a no left-hand turn, and do not enter either at the same time. So when Trump says something about a left-hand turn, and then he talks about they want to enter in all within the same back-to-back sentence, then it's just a coincidence that that happened to be that way. But this garden, I mean, this garden's beautiful. It's in the dead center too. It's the dead center of a square, Logan Square. So which garden is which? There's the knowledge of good and evil. There's the tree of life. There's the Garden of Eden. You got your three frogs. So that one looks like a woman. There's no water sprouting up on this end. Head up further. You can probably see the fountain. Yeah, Love Park. So this whole section from this side over, there's nothing but water sprouting up. And you know, of course, I haven't seen it until now because I've been coming down here almost every day. I would have noticed it, but it only started to sprout up at 8:48 a.m. on the 7th, on the 8th day of the 7th month, 2020. Your three frogs here. So that's a man. The one on the other side is a woman. I can't really say what that is. So Pope John and Paul, they're looking to get this place, celebrate Mass, and proclaim his message of peace and love. Peace and love at this part. So this is the Garden of Eden. I mean, I know there's a small garden up there with the, what I'm saying is representing the Garden of Eden. There's a small garden up there right before you go to the art museum, but this one is in like the center. So this is more significant. It's in the center point. Brazil, but Chile is the key word. Chili. Even like a reference to eating chili. It's chili. Boy, it sure is chili in here. Like anything like that would be appreciated. Just for kicks and giggles. Because you can't prove, nobody can really prove that when anybody says that on the mainstream that they're just giving me a shout out. But you know it and I know it and others know it, and it's fun. Man, it's like a pillow. It's like a comforter. Man, these things are so thick. Because it's the opposite of chilly out today. The stuff almost looks fake. So Adam and Eve in the garden. And the serpent, now he's more subtle than the other beast that God created. And 0 and 1 and Chile. Every story in the Bible, I've noticed even like so many movies. I watched a space movie yesterday. I don't remember what it was called, but I don't even remember the actors' names, but it was a movie about the one guy was crippled, well, his legs, he was in a wheelchair, but up in space he wasn't. So he created some kind of, Click, you would know what I'm talking about, or Derek, you guys are the one that produced the movie. Oh, look at this full head of lettuce. You can literally eat this like right now, right? So it was up in space and he created this thing and he called it, what was the name? Calvin, there you go. So he called it Calvin, and it grew, and then it like came out of the thing, and then it started to kill everybody. But as the movie's going along, you can see where they're tying it in with the Bible. Wow, I've never seen, I would not want to take a bite of this. You think this one is, you think this one is telling you, I would highly suggest that you don't eat me. Wow, this is the baddest freaking leaf I've ever seen in my life. It's like a porcupine. It's like a porcupine tree. Somebody commented, you guys know what these plants are. This looks like an alligator. And it probably is named, like, wouldn't you name that some kind of porcupine name? An alligator? Ginormous leaves. Lettuce, heads of lettuce. And then this one over here, this is what somebody commented on. Get a better close-up of it. This thing here. And how it even stays up. Like the support that it must have. So in the Bible, when Christ gets crucified and goes to the cross and all that, remember, Daniel went through the same thing. Remember, Joseph went through the same thing. Remember, Elijah went through the same thing. They all have like different endings of the story because of the interpretations, but they all were blessed. They suffered as they went through Babylon. The modern day Babylon is YouTube, period. Daniel purposed in his heart not to defile himself when he voluntarily jumped in. Elijah, he got caught up because they picked him up and brought him up there. And same thing with Christ. And with Daniel being put in charge and Joseph being second in charge, both finding favor in the eyes of the chief and the prince of the eunuchs. Bring in a ticket. All the stories are similar because it's all parallel. Christ, Daniel is a type of Joseph is a type of Christ. These are all types of Christ. Trump didn't say no right hand turn. He said no left hand turn. Anyway, this is why people get offended. Because if you have a different understanding, it's called having an open mind. But it's common sense. When God sends somebody, the crucifixion is as he sends. From the very beginning, because no man knows the day or the hour except for the Father. And so when the Father comes on the scene, it's from the very beginning. The Father knows when he's coming. He knows when he started. But when God sends his son throughout the entire Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, whoever he sends, they get abused as they're going through it. And then after their period of time, it's usually a 3-year period, after that 3-year period, the blessings start to take place. Not literal killings. Just look at what Daniel went through and understand that it's a parallel to the exact same thing that Christ went through. But the way it's portrayed that Christ was beaten, I mean, he was beaten beyond recognition, that they couldn't even tell who the hell it was because of how badly it's misinterpreted. And the movie Passion of Christ shows that literally happening. Yeah, that's going to frighten anybody who, I mean, look, to those who want to be Christ, look at what you got to get, what you're going to have to go through. You got to get, are you ready to get beaten to death like that? I mean, you're going to have nails driven through your hands and your feet. And you're going to be, that Roman soldier's going to pierce your side. But remember, Eve was taken out of Adam's side. They now, the very next day after peace was made, they're charging $15 to park there. The very next day, when I came up here at 5:55 in the morning on July 8th, that parking lot was empty and there was no sign saying $15. Still, I don't see any water streams sprouting up anywhere on this side. You can easily have them going right here. It's not happening. There's a little garden up here. I'm not sure what the name of it is, but it's not, it's just a landing strip garden representing the birth, because that part there is shaped like a penis when you look at it from an aerial view, and that there, and then because that's shaped as a penis, and then so is this. I'm not the one that did it, I'm just showing you what it is. And then Petco 2, the tower, same as that. This is like, these are the crossroads between one brother and another. Because if you notice, they have to see each other too. It's like, I see you, I know I see you. Straight way. So to all the messiahs, well, don't you know what you got to go through? But I think you do. I think the vicar of Christ, I think you already know that when you're getting crowned, that everything's already an act anyway, because you're part of it. But I'm talking to the people that aren't part of it. If you want to be Christ, this is what you're going to have to go through. But that's if you believe it's that way. Yeah, I'm going to have to stick with, this is the representation of the Garden of Eden in Philadelphia. There's the birthing part of it. Then there's a part, there's St. Peter and Paul right after the birthing. There's an area up here where the fallen angels are being caught, right behind the 3 fallen angels. And ever since the day of last week, exactly a week ago, all this water started sprouting up on Kleck's side. Moses and Elijah, or Moses and Enoch, or Enoch and Elijah. There are two witnesses. Two witnesses, you can look at it as like 5 different ways at least, and it's all true, because you can have actually 2 witnesses, and then you have the one person with the 2 spirits in that vessel, and then there's like a double portion of a spirit. It's like everything is intertwined, so when one starts and finishes, the other one's ready to continue and just build off of what you learned from the person before you. Everybody keeps getting a double portion of what they learned from the person before them. And then you do greater works. I have a feeling if water did not spring up, those buildings would have came down. But only ones that were preparing to do that would know that that's true. I'll just speculate that. Now I'm saying my prediction is that William Penn statue will not come down. 17th JFK will not have any bombings. These things will not happen. And I have to say that now because, well, for the past year and a half, maybe every 5th video on average, maybe more than that, has a predicted date of the second 9/11 in Philadelphia. But because things happen spiritually and only those who have eyes to see can see it, you have to take it for what they show you. There's even water fountains here at the William Penn building. So I just had a theory that if we didn't see the water sprout up, then we were going to see the bombs explode. How's that? The bombs would have exploded at 8:48 a.m. It would have happened. But when they finally get peace between each other, it's not going to happen. So therefore, it's fountains of water will spring up instead of the original plan where you guys were heading to go. But it was necessary how it was heading, but now it's time to cut that off. Think of I don't know how many other Bibles in the story, how many other stories in the Bible that have prophets that come, they warn, and they all have the similar spirit of Christ because they get it from their Father, which sends them. They're the ones with the message first. Whoever hears it, they adhere to it, they apply it. Like King David, wasn't he grieved in his heart continually because of what God was showing him that he needed to do and turn from? He couldn't relax anymore. And then Daniel came in, purposed in his heart not to defile God. So those two were on opposite realms. But David had a heart after God. Yeah, David did some dirty deeds, especially that one with the woman getting her pregnant and everything, and then killing the husband, leaving him for dead for all that time. But obviously God forgave him because there's purpose between all of it. Like what happened to Joseph? He got sold out by his brothers, did he not? Look at it as, compare from then to now, even though it's all the same, because right now is happening exactly as it did in the story. So you can say the Bible can predict the future, because it is. But you can also say that these stories were told and they never happened. They're happening now. You can say the Old Testament and the New Testament is now. You can also say that the book was written back then for a future prophecy to be fulfilled. Like as it happened back then and then it happens now as a double fulfillment. I can see that part too. Joseph was sold out by his brothers. So if you have brothers, or you have like brothers, sisters, companions, friends, or you go online and you communicate with people, they become your friends, and then they stab you in the back, that kind of thing there, and then you turn and then you go back around and then you just continue on. He had a dream. He told him that the sun and the moon were going to bow down to him. Not the actual sun and moon and the stars, but who represents the sun, who represents the moon and the stars in human form. They didn't want to hear it. They wanted to kill him. I think Reuben was the only one that stuck up for him. Go figure. And because he got thrown into prison for 2 days, or 2 years, a day is a year, or 2 years, which is 2 full years, which is actually 3 years, because there's 2 years from September 23rd, 2017 to the sign in heaven, and then to the 2-year period, which goes up to 2019. However, don't forget, Daniel's timeline is in full. He takes those 2 years, but it has to be fully fulfilled to get to the 3rd year, which means September 23rd, 2020 would be the 2nd full year since that sign happened. I started 521 days before that. I mean, not 521 days. April 2nd. 5 months and 21 days before the September 23rd sign. So I had 5 months and 21 days to get to that point. And then there was this competition that I didn't know about. I had no idea I was in the running until recently. And then it's just whatever, however it is, It's just I got to do my part and just keep proving what I feel like I know. And I started warning people about the 5th month and 21st day in 2011 with Harold Camping bringing the law. Harold Camping brought the law. And then I picked up on it. I got a double portion of his spirit as well. And then when I'm done, somebody else is going to get a double portion of my spirit. So that's why that Elisha similarities happen, because it just gets passed down. It's like the baton gets passed one to another. A 2-year sign, King Heron, go kill the 144,000. Going into Babylon for 3 years, but a 3rd year's almost up since that sign. 2 full years. the 3rd year, the captivity of Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, Abednego. When Babylon is fallen, and it's the cage of every single foul spirit and dirty bird, as soon as YouTube is shut down, the truth, the sacrifice, the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place happens. It's all tied in. As soon as the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place, Christ is crucified. It's all tied in. What happened to Daniel happened to Christ, happened to the others that you can happen to Joseph. Because if you notice, they've all been in charge. Christ, the reason why Christ is portrayed as being brutally beaten to death like that is because the Christ story is about the spiritual part of him becoming the King of Kings and Lord of Lords of heaven. Because everything's referenced in heaven, that's why. With Daniel and the others, it's looked at more as literal. But it's because the reason being is they're the same people, same spirit, same person. But with Daniel, it shows that, yeah, this is what can happen if you obey God and you become second in charge of the 3rd ruler in a kingdom. And but don't tell anybody that Daniel is Christ as well, because let's just let people think that if you do want to try to be Christ, look at what's going to happen to you. So you might want to think twice about that. All right? That's the whole purpose of why the Bible has been interpreted that way. So when Christ does appear, he's going to know that he's not dying through this whole process. He already died to himself. The fear, there isn't any for that reason, because he came to create peace. He is our peace. From one end to the other. From that end to that end. Hands stretched out still. Christ became very good friends with the world ruler.